At the beginning of time, long ago, specifically 4.5 billion years ago, the earth was born, and then we made this video.
Starring Sam Wolf as Sam, and Madison McGeera as Madison. Also starring Thomas Schrader as Nerdy Camera Dude number 1, 2, and 3. Featuring Matt McBain as the Arborist. And also featuring The Plant.
The Archean period, 4,000 to 2,500 million years ago, saw the first forms of life on Earth. This was known as Prokaryota or Monera. Since this period, populations and organisms have been steadily growing, and the human population is now above 7 billion. Thomas Malthus predicted rapid population growth in 1798. His publishings described overpopulation on Earth resulting in famines, starvation, and death. Today we know his extreme theories aren't exactly true, but in the coming years, forms of overpopulation may come to fruition. Applied more to other organisms like plants than it did to humans. Malthus suggested that war, famine, and disease accounts for decreasing population growth in humans. However, in plants and animals, population growth can be limited by competition, predation, parasitism, disease, unusual weather, and natural disasters.
Madison and I are trying to investigate invasive species. We are trying to identify eco-friendly ways to limit invasive species growth in a habitat. What makes them invasive? How can they be controlled? These are some of the questions that we will attempt to answer with arborist Matt's help. To give you a little history about invasive species, I'll give you an example. In 1859, an Australian farmer released 24 wild European rabbits from England onto his ranch. Few rabbits, he said, could do little harm and might provide a touch of home in addition to a spot of hunting. 7 years later, he and his friends shot 14,253 rabbits. In 10 years, more than 2 million rabbits were hunted on that farm alone. Hunters' glee turned into nationwide despair. That touch of home was now covering the countryside like a gray blanket. The millions of rabbits devoured native plants and took over areas that would put native animals to extinction. Made life miserable for sheep and cattle ranchers. These creatures weren't a problem in England. Why were they in Australia? How could they be stopped?
Rabbits were responsible for killing plants and causing erosion by leaving the topsoil exposed to wind and water. Something needed to be done.
In the 1950s, after many methods such as fence building throughout the countryside, the virus Myxoma was introduced to the population. This virus causes myxomitis, which kills the rabbits. This severely decreased the rabbit population from 6 million to approximately 1 million. Even though this decreased, rabbits still continue to grow in a population and has raised back to 2 million to 3 million because of mutations causing immunity to the virus.
This is just one example of how an invasive species can take over in a habitat. We will be looking at invasive species of plants in Porter County area, specifically at the Gardens of Tall Tree, where we'll meet our friend Matt, who is the head groundskeeper and arborist.
Let's go to Tall Tree! Now we are on our way to Tall Tree.
And look, here we are.
We are here at Tall Tree, and we are looking for the invasive species, and Matt is going to help us to find these invasive species. Well, they're pretty easy to find. And then he's going to tell us how you can stop them, and he's also going to show us some of the native plants, too, that would be there if these invasive species would not take over. So let's get going.
From the garden, along the low tree, and tiptoe through the tulips with me.
Action?
Action.
Yeah. This is Matt the Arborist, and he's going to tell us some information.
Yes, an invasive species. I'm at Tall Tree Arboretum and Gardens. I'm the master groundsman, so I've been working with the invasives for quite some time. And controlling the invasives is incredibly important. This is autumn olive, and you could identify it by it has willow tree-like long leaves. But one thing that always catches my eye is when the wind's blowing, you can see the silver undersides of the leaves. And that's what tells me that it's autumn olive. Well, this is native to southern China, Korea, Taiwan, and it grows incredibly fast. And one of the things that makes it invasive is that through, this is a difficult word to pronounce, alleliopathy, just like black walnut trees, they release a chemical into the soil. And if it's a tree this size, it can cover 10 feet around it. And it releases a chemical into the soil that doesn't let other trees and species grow. Now when you cut that, it's just going to grow back really quick, right? So we have to use chemical control to keep this at bay and to kill the root system. Agricultural losses and control costs due to invasive plants are estimated at, take a guess, per year in the United States.
10 million.
$10 million?
Yeah.
Ooh, getting cold, getting warmer.
Is it more than that?
Oh yeah.
20 million.
20 million?
Yeah.
You ready for this? $15 billion.
Oh my God.
Oh my
Is that a lot
God.
of money or what?
Yeah.
In our science class, we talked about like using dichotomous keys and stuff. Do you ever use that to identify?
Yes, we do. A lot. I do that a lot with trees. Is a very invasive species here. It was brought to America, and it's also native to Asia. But this was brought in the 1860s for the hybridizing ornamental roses. In means of controlling this, we want to catch it before it flowers, before it seeds. But we cut it low at its base, and then instantly we want to put 1 drop of a pure herbicide on that. So it affects just the root systems of this individual. So it's incredibly adaptive. This is one that we've been trying to control. It's one of our 2 worst invasives in the tall tree crop. Multiflora rose is one of our worst invasive species. This is garlic mustard. This is one of our most invasive species in northwest Indiana, as well as tall tree. The first year, it grows very small, and the leaves are like this, kind of a heart-shaped. Then the second year, it takes this shape, and it goes into its second stage. So we have to be very careful that when we pull these up, first of all, we want to do it before it's gone to seed. Number 2, once we do pull it up and out of the ground from its roots, like I just did, comes up very easily, you can see its roots. White roots like that show that it's very healthy. We want to put it in bags, plastic bags, and we want to dispose of it that way. Either burn it or put it in the trash. One of the things that we do to control invasive species are called prescribed burns, which we do usually in the fall after everything is starting to go dormant. The prairies are what we concentrate on the most because it helps replenish the land, releasing nitrogen back into the soil. It also helps control the invasive species dramatically. What could take 5 individuals a month to remove a certain amount of invasives out of a prairie, a prescribed burn could do in 20 minutes. So that's one of the things that we do in the prairie that you see in the back, to help bring back native plant species such as goldenrod or the compass plant.
We would like to thank the Tall Tree staff for letting us use their facilities to learn about invasive species. We would also like to especially thank Matt McBain for taking the time to give us a tour and talk to us at Tall Tree.